5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network. This is Culture Clash Live, and this is the Fandom Podcast Network's exclusive YouTube reaction show, covering all of fandom's most recent hot topics, TV shows, movies, and more. My name is Kevin. This is Culture Clash episode 263, and we have another Save From Fandom Oblivion. We are going to be showcasing the 6-day Arnold Schwarzenegger's sci-fi 2000 flick. And of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. Before I go any further, though, I'm going to introduce my co-host here. And of course, this is my co-host, of course, of the plenty of Couch Potato Theaters, but also more importantly, our Time Warp show. I'd like to welcome to the fold Lacey Adderhold. How are you? Oh, you're getting cloned. Watch out.
We're so close. We're so close. Hello.
I want you to pull down your eyelid and show me how many times you've been cloned.
Nope.
Now, before we go any further, usually the host of Culture Clash is this guy named Kyle Wagner, my brother from another mother, and also the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. But guess what? He has some family holiday obligations, so we're going to let him off the hook. Kyle, if you're listening or watching, what's up, dude? We're missing you. But I got you back. We got the show. Lacey and I are going to hold down the fort here. And, of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. And we should remind people about this Fandom Oblivion thing. We do want to mention here is that we're going to be returning to Fandom Oblivion. You're wondering, like, well, what the heck is Fandom Oblivion? Well, we feel that some movies have been forgotten in Fandom Oblivion and maybe should be brought back into the forefront of fandom again. So we're going to dive deep into what I call this forgotten Arnold Schwarzenegger gem. We'll be getting into that. But I did want to ask before we go any further here, Lacey, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was delightful. We had it a day early because my sister and her husband and the kids were in town and they needed to be back with his family for Thanksgiving Day. So we did Wednesday. So I had all day Thursday to do not a whole lot of things. And I watched Home for Holidays, which is my favorite Thanksgiving dysfunctional family film. And of course, The Turkey Drop from WKRP in Cincinnati. And if you know, you know.
You know, what's funny is I threw up a couple of memes about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Saved From Turkeys thing and the Godzilla one is funny, and yep. I did a Star Trek Shaka when the walls fell, but Shaka when the turkeys drop. I intended to watch it, but I just never got around to it, and I'm going to get into that later of why I didn't. But you know what? I'll do it next year because it's funny because like the one digital, I don't have the whole entire WKRP. I don't think I own that DVD, and I don't think I have the entire series digitally, but I do have that one episode digitally. And speaking of digitally, I'm dropping my props here. I do want to just kind of bring something up real quick. So do you go to a lot of thrift stores to get physical media like I do, Lacey? Do you just kind of buy new? What's your like? How do you get your physical media other than ordering online?
Okay, so if it's something that is kind of bulk new stuff, I'll go on Amazon or on Lorber or Criterion's websites. Just kind of the boutique websites are kind of my place to go. But I will say that if it's something that's old school that you just can't find, I have been known to peruse the odd thrift store or Goodwill, Salvation Army, those kind of spots. The problem is I have so much physical media that if I buy it used, I have to watch it that day, or I will not remember to watch it and check for scratches or dings or
Right. Well, the reason why I ask is I always hit the thrift stores wherever I go.
Okay.
Because I find some hidden gems, out of print gems, and stuff like that, or stuff that I just want to see. I also find a lot of unclaimed digital codes.
Nice.
And I'm not afraid to say, or I'm not ashamed to say that I will open up a DVD going, I may not own this, but you know what? I'm going to use that digital code that's inside there. And sometimes if the movie's good, I'll go ahead and buy the movie as well.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, I have over 100 movies that I have claimed off of unclaimed digital codes, either from physical media I have bought or I have not bought. And I've just kind of, there at the thrift store, I'm going, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and, claim that right now. And what's really weird is a lot of these digital codes will say, please use by this date.
Yep.
Or it's not good. Well, if you're one of these people, still try to claim it, because there's a lot, like, for example, I wanted to watch, soon I want to do a little double feature of the Ghost Rider movies with Nicolas Cage. And the Ghost Rider, the second film, Spirit of Vengeance, which most fans will say is not the better movie, and I agree. This had a digital code that, remember, this movie came out in 2011, and 2014 was when the expiration date on the code. Guess what? It worked.
Yeah, the one studio that's really a stickler for pulling their codes on the date is Warner Brothers. Like, I've bought a bunch of stuff, like, where I'll go back and buy a whole collection. My Warner Brothers, my Batman and Superman superhero animated collection has grown exponentially, and every single one of those dang codes does not work.
I bought this used because I wanted to get the 3D version of Kong Skull Island right here that I'm holding up. And digital code, tried it, didn't work. It actually expired. So yeah. But I just want to say, if you're one of those, don't just look at the date, go, nah, this is no good. No, because I have, of my over 100 digital codes that I've gotten through that way, many of them were supposedly expired. So just wanted to bring that to the table. So of course we are discussing the 6th day coming up here soon. But we do have some stuff that is coming soon or just arrived here at the Fandom Podcast Network. We're going to go into that right now. Let's see what we have. We got a comment here. Hey guys, Black Friday. Keep up the good work. That must be Kyle. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Hello.
Oh, should we say our little Black Friday T-shirt shout?
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay. I got that set up. We want to talk about what's on the network here. First of all, last time we did a little time travel. We did our time travel spotlight with the time machine. I had serious thoughts about that movie. We also, on the Union Federation, been having a lot of fun. We recently did the Star Trek Next Generation, where we covered every 2-part episode. And right now we are finishing out season 5 of Lower Decks. We still got about 4 more episodes left in the season, the final season as well. And I want to give a shout out to our lethal mullet himself, Mr. Adam O'Brien. And I'm just going to say I'm wearing my lethal mullet shirt right now.
I almost wore that shirt tonight.
We would have been twinsies, right? Which would have been interesting for tonight's episode. So, Kyle, by the way, says I am coming from Christmas parts unknown. So there you go.
Right on.
Back to Lethal Mullet himself. He's covering, of course, the Mullet Guild, as he called it. He's a big Dune fan. He's covering the TV series 1 and 2, and he just recently dropped on episode 262, Jet Li's The One. So make sure you check that out. Also, too, we recently wrapped up Agatha All Along, a 9-part series. Please check those out. That was a lot of fun. And we, of course, returned recently to Time Warp, where we just dropped November of 1984. And coming up next month is the final episode of 84. And that, of course, is the month of December. Make sure you check that out. We got, of course, Beverly Hills Cop, Johnny Dangerously, Starman, the original Dune, Runaway, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to tease right now, next year, Time Warp is going back to the 90s. We're going to be covering the year of 1990 specifically. So that's going to be a lot of fun there. One of the first movies we'll be talking about is Tremors. And if you love that hair metal, we've got the Hair Metal podcast that, of course, I co-host with my buddy Mike Simmer. And we recently had a really fun episode. We had our Hair Metal Council on discussing the 2001 VH1 Top 40 hair bands of all time. And we picked our top 10 with the Sleaze Meter. If you want to know what that is, make sure you check that out. You can watch it or listen to it. The Sleaze Meter was a lot of fun. And Couch Potato Theater recently did Spinal Tap, celebrating its 40th anniversary, and also celebrating its 40th anniversary, we just dropped the Terminator. Lacey, of course, you were on with that, and we also had my lovely wife Erin on to discuss that. That was a lot of fun. And we just recorded John Wick 2014, celebrating its 10th anniversary. We had our special guest Norman Lau on. That will be dropping shortly. And coming soon, we have the Aliens 1986 film, including the Aliens expanded documentary that we will be discussing. And soon we are recording Deadpool and Wolverine Couch Potato Theater, which is one of the earliest Couch Potato Theaters, because this is a new release. But we felt that it deemed to be released as a Couch Potato Theater. We also are celebrating James Cameron month still with The Abyss 1989 coming soon. Also, we'll be rounding out the year with Johnny Dangerously, celebrating its 40th anniversary. And Lacey, you chose our Christmas movie this year. What did you choose?
I did. The Longest Goodnight.
Yes.
It's just such a great little action kind of Christmassy situation. I think it's like situational Christmas film, but it is Christmas, and I love it, and it's delightful, and we're going to talk about it.
I have not seen this movie in a long time, so I am looking forward to revisiting it. So, yeah. And a little tease. We are celebrating next year. We're going to have several Couch Potato Theaters celebrating 1980s canon films retrospective. We'll be doing Couch Potato Theaters on about 6 80s canon films, including American Ninja, Invasion USA, Cobra, Bloodsport, Firewalker, and Masters of the Universe. So make sure you check that out. All right. And also, too, a little tease. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew next week. We'll get into that more a little bit later. We got a lot in the docket. We're busy.
I think that Skeleton Crew is the first Star Wars based series that I plan on watching weekly, like actually a date of.
Let me tell you this right now, Lacey. If you do so, we would love to get you on Culture Clash Live talking about it, because we're going to be doing their next Culture Clashes weekly, of course, discussing that show as the main topic. We'll of course also discuss, buy it, stream it, and see it in the news. But if you do jump on and do it, we would love to have you on to give your opinion on it. So yeah,
right on. We will see when the schedule works out.
Yeah. Now, speaking, I'm wearing my Lethal Mullet t-shirt here, and we want to give a shout out to TeePublic right now. They have a huge sale, and the reason why we want to shout out TeePublic is they carry our t-shirts from all of our shows, and they have a huge sale going on right now, Black Friday sale. So if you're listening to this or watching this, please show us some love, because every time you purchase one of our Fandom Podcast Network t-shirts, we get a little kickback. Help pays our dues for, hosting and fees here and there and keeping the lights on. So please check it out. And they also have sales throughout the year, a lot of sales. So make sure you check that out. But right now, Black Friday weekend, please make sure you give us a little help there and check that out. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, Lacey.
I went on.
Here we are.
And they had. I went on earlier, and it looked like their shirts were down from like 23 to 15.
Yeah, it's like 15 or 16 bucks. Yeah. And then sometimes they'll do like a sale where like your whole order is like 35% off or something like that. Yeah. All right. As a reminder, we are covering the 6th day. It's our Fandom Oblivion thing, but we got some other stuff though. We got a little bit of news, and it is related to what we're going to be talking about on Culture Clash next week. And that, of course, is The Skeleton Crew, our new Star Wars TV series exclusively on Disney Plus. And they actually moved up the date. Originally, it was December 3rd, if I remember correctly, December 3rd, which was Tuesday. But now they're going to drop it a day early. I guess they're excited, and that makes us excited. They're dropping it on Monday, December 2nd. So we're excited. We're excited about this. We get to see a little early. A little excited about doing that. So yeah, we're going to be right now we're technically scheduled doing Culture Clash Live on Friday, but maybe we'll have to move that up. We'll talk to Kyle about that, Lisa, and see what he has to say. So, because we don't want people getting tired of Skeleton Crew by Friday comes around. So we'll see. We'll check our schedules. We'll try to get it done sooner. But yeah, Skeleton Crew is coming out, and It will debut early. And for those of you that don't know about it, the adventure awaits for no one. That includes us on December 2nd at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that will be 9 p.m., of course, Eastern Standard Time. Experience the 2-episode premiere Star Wars Skeleton Crew as an early gift for fans like you who literally can't wait to meet this new squad. Created by John Watts and Chris Ford, the brand new Star Wars story includes a crew of murderous pirates in the era of the New Republic and 6 new characters. Jod, who is played by Jude Law, Wim by Ravi Cabot Conyers, Fern, played by Ryan Kira Armstrong, KB, played by Kiriana Crater, Neil, played by Robert Timothy Smith, and a droid, SM-33, voiced by Nick Frost. On a rollicking journey among the stars, Skeleton Crew arrives on Disney Plus December 2nd with new weekly episodes every Tuesday starting at 6 p.m. Pacific on December 10th. So Lacey, I'm just out of curiosity, I'm going to pick your brain about this. You had just said that this might be the first Star Wars show, because usually you're into the movies and you're a little, I know you've talked about your displeasure of the Star Wars show, either not continuing, and you like to get your physical media. But what is it about this show that intrigues you so about actually experiencing it weekly?
You know what? I've seen about 40% of one trailer and I turned it off. Because I immediately was like, okay, I have to watch that. But what it immediately brought to mind was Explorers. I think it was like 1988, 1986, somewhere in there. Ethan Hawke and Jason, can't remember his last name, and River Phoenix get a message from, and they go up to,
I remember it. Yeah.
Right? Okay. So basically
that was the one where they build their own spaceship, right?
Right. And then they go meet the aliens thinking that they're like first contact and all this kind of stuff. And it turns out that the aliens are also like kids that had stolen their dad's car.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's what this reminded me of, because these kids basically steal their dad's spaceship, or they unearth the spaceship. I don't know. They
unearth the spaceship. It's got a very as the creators call it, an Amblin vibe. If you know Amblin Entertainment, of course, you know. It's very Steven Spielberg-y. It's Goonies and E.T.-ish and stuff. And
it feels like Explorers from the other side.
Yeah, we get to see Star Wars from a different perspective, from a kid's point of view, and kind of a suburban Star Wars feel, which I don't know about you, but that kind of excites me. I want to see Star Wars as in a normal city with families and schools and stuff like that. And we've gotten a little tease of school in The Mandalorian, where Grogu sits in on a class. But this is going to be kind of interesting. So I'm excited for us, and I'm excited for you for giving it a shot. So,
and I think that another thing is that, we grew up with movies like Explorers and Goonies and all the, and when we watched movies where it was a bunch of kids doing something, it was fun and excitement and adventure. But now a lot of the films that we get that are child or kid based, there's kind of a cynicism to them. And this felt like just absolute fun and excitement. It didn't feel like, a Mean Girls or something like that, where it was, that kind of stuff. So I'm stoked. I'm very excited.
Well, I'm excited for you to watch it, and we'll compare notes later. But let's get into our next segment here, and that's buy it, stream it, or unsee it.
Buy it, stream it, or unsee it.
All right, a little spoiler alert here, people, just in case you haven't seen everything here. I know we haven't told you what we're seeing, but we might get a little spoilery on a few things here. But just in case. Spoiler alert, there we go. Okay, so as we always like to do, we like to talk about Letterboxd, as we all have our profiles on Letterboxd. You can reach us through Letterboxd, and the big thing too is I'm keeping track of all my films I've been watching yearly now because of this. I love using Letterboxd for that reason, and I also kind of want to keep track of my films in the order that I watch them. I've never really done that before, and I've been doing that since the first of this year, and I'm now up to 372 films.
Okay, it's official, more than one a day.
Yeah, I know. I think last year I made it to 406, I think, so I got to do my little movie marathons and stuff. So, yeah. But we did want to give Kyle some love here, because he wanted to give his thoughts on Gladiator 2. as you know, Lacey, you and I have seen it. We gave our thoughts last week, but he went and saw it, and he says, this is a quote from Kyle. He says, "A sequel I was not sure was even needed, but it surpassed my expectations. While not as good as the first film, it adds to it without bringing the original film down. Denzel puts in a great performance, playing both just over the top when needed and getting down and dirty when required. Paul Mescal, who is the lead character and the lead gladiator, does an amazing job as a grown-up Lucius and is the heart of the film. And his ranking is buy it." I think it was buy it for us as well, if I remember correctly, Lacey. So
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now, what I love about, we're going to go into your picks here, Lacey. I've seen one of your picks, but I love the theme of what you got going on here because it's the holiday season. It's great for rom-coms as well. And the first film that you picked, Lacey, was actually one I almost queued up to watch. I got distracted and forgot about it. Now that you've reminded me, I got to see it. And this is Mother of the Bride, a recent film here in 2024. Lana's daughter Emma returns from London and announces that she's getting married next month. Things become more complicated when Lana learns that the man who stole Emma's heart is the son of the man who broke her heart years ago. Directed by Mark Waters, stars Brooke Shields, Miranda Cosgrove, and Benjamin Bratt. This movie looks like a lot of fun. What is your take on it, Lacey?
Super fun. Lots of side characters that you will recognize. Chad Michael Murray makes an appearance.
Oh, wow.
Which it was unexpected because I had just watched one of the next movies we're going to talk about. And I was very taken aback by his performance in that particular episode or movie. And so when I saw him in this, I was like, wow, I'm having a Chad Michael Murray day and I didn't even know it. But
Wilson Cruz is in it too. Yeah. It looked like.
Yeah, Wilson Cruz, and I never can remember his name. The guy who plays Stuart from Second City, the tall, bright blue eyes. Anyway,
Michael McDonald.
I don't.
Clay? Does he play Clay?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yes. Anyway, so it's super fun. It's got.
Are you talking about Stuart from Mad TV?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's Michael McDonald. Yes. Say stop.
Yes. Put out like no.
So, what's your take? Is this a buy it, stream it, or unsee it for you?
Well, because it's Netflix, it's a stream it because you can't buy it because they suck at.
If you could buy it, would you?
I would absolutely buy this if it was available. I would buy it. It is
nice.
Never, they're really bad about. Netflix is not great with their physical media.
I'll be honest with you, I have to go overseas for it, and that's how I bought my copy of The Gray Man. Did I buy The Gray Man? But the two Extraction movies with Chris Hemsworth, I had to go overseas to get those.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also The Old Guard with Charlize Theron. I had to go overseas. Yeah.
Well, I'm not opposed to buying overseas copies.
By the way, when we say overseas, that means that they are pirated copies.
Not necessarily, because I have found official. That's the thing. I don't mind buying overseas as long as it is an official copy, because there are several things that are released over, either Australia or in Europe. Like so many things are released in the UK that are not released in the US.
True.
There's a ton of stuff that's released in Canada that's not released in the US that is Region 1, which is delightful and so dumb that they won't. In Canada, I'm like, I'm sending you some stuff again.
Well, I'm assuming the ones that I've gotten from overseas are, not legit, but I need my physical media on it. I need my physical media. All right, so
I'm a big fan.
Okay, so you would definitely buy that if you could.
I would. And Brooke Shields, I gotta tell you, she has got some of the best facial expressions. She was kind of touted as just this beauty queen, through growing up, and she was sort of treated so delicately, and now she's got the comic timing.
What was the name of that 90s sitcom she was in? I watched
Susan.
Yes. Say it one more time.
Suddenly Susan was the name of the comic. And now
I watched that. It was funny.
She can actually act, and it's like, of course she could act. She was acting when she was 12. All
right, so so we're gonna go on the next one here, and this is what I like about your pick here, because it is the season of holiday films. And also too, I feel like everyone's trying to catch up to the Hallmark Channel, and Netflix is doing a pretty damn good job of it. And you have the movie The Merry Gentleman here.
Yes.
Just recently came out, and I saw a trailer for this. I'm like, you know what? I might watch this. Starring Britt Robertson, Chad Michael McMurray, as you mentioned, and this is to save her parents' small town performing venue. A former big city dancer decides to stage an all-male Christmas-themed review, starring Britt Robertson, Chad Michael Murray, and Marla Sokoloff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had me at Marla Sokoloff. I'll tell you that right now. Do you know why? Because
Dude, where's my card?
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. I love that. That's Cyrano de Bergerac in that's a update of Cyrano. I love it.
I think this came out in 99. And what's funny, I remember being on a business trip for Decipher, and I saw this in, I want to say Vancouver, I think it was, in the theater. And love this film. And Marla Sokoloff was so darn cute. And she's in this as well. Give me your thoughts on The Merry Gentleman.
Okay, so The Merry Gentleman, it's basically a Christmas version of the Full Monty with obviously not going to the Full Monty.
Right. But
I gotta tell you, man, I just looked it up a second ago. Chad Michael Murray is 43 years old, and I am so impressed with his musculature. I mean, I was like, oh, okay. Absolutely.
To say you were drilling over his pecs, that's fine.
Like how well he is has like taken care of himself. Like he's
hold on, Maxwell Caulfield is in this movie.
Do what?
Maxwell Caulfield is in this movie. He is in this movie. Maxwell Caulfield. He plays Danny.
Oh,
Michael Gross is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm sold.
It's definitely a buy it if it was purchasable. I will say Britt Robertson, she's great too. I'm not sure, but I think she was a dancer in real life for a while. So she's got several chorus line-esque type dances that she does and stuff. Yeah.
I just noticed in the credits here too, Marla Sokoloff not only co-stars in it, but she's also one of the writers in it. So
right on.
Awesome. So it's a buy it for you. Definitely stream it.
Yes, I would. Mm-hmm.
All right. Next is a film I have seen as well, thanks to Kyle. And I don't even think he's seen this yet, but he brought it up because I don't know if you know this, but Kyle and I both have little crushes on, well, let's just say she's the queen of Hallmark channels here. And of course, that's Lacey Chabert, but she's in a Netflix film called Hot Frosty. Yes, Hot Frosty. Widow Kathy magically brings a snowman to life. His innocence helps her heal and find love again. They bond before the holidays, but he's doomed to melt. Starring Dustin Milligan, Lacey Chabert, Lauren Holly, Jolo Trujillo, and Craig Robinson. Let's give your take on this, Lacey. Your thoughts on Hot Frosty.
Okay, absolutely hilarious, really, really fun. It's basically Frosty the Snowman, obviously, and Dustin Milligan. I've been following this kid since forever. Everybody right now, that people remember him from Schitt's Creek as Ted, and maybe before that, you might have seen a couple of his smaller films. He did Shark Night, which was delightful. If you watch,
I couldn't remember what I'd seen him in.
Supernatural. He played the intern for the Ghost Facers. And that's where I saw him the first time. And it is the funniest, one of my favorite episodes of Supernatural. He's absolutely hilarious. And I've been following him on purpose since I saw that episode. Really, really funny. And he always picks like random, like he picks like all the different genres. So he's kind of all over the place, but he's really good with whatever he does.
The things that stood out for me in this film is, first of all, I love Joe Trujillo and Craig Robinson. They're kind of the bumbling local cops in this. Yep. This town, and Craig Robinson kind of plays the bad guy. He's, something happens and he's trying to track down this guy. And I like those two guys together as the cops because it's a Brooklyn Nine-Nine reunion, so to speak. But what I really like about it too is that when the town folk find out what's going on and who he is, they come together. And it was a very, very nice Christmas themed movie. Yeah. A lot of heart to it. Lacey Chabert, just cute as ever. Oh, I love that girl.
Yep.
And also too, there's a tie into something else, right?
There's a couple couple. First of all, her parents are played by Sabrina the Teenage Witch's aunt and Alex P. Keaton's dad, which is awesome.
Yes.
But if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, there's a little spot where she's trying to just leave him entertained while she goes to work, and she gives him the remote control, and something pops up, and it's one of the holiday movies from Netflix or something like that, and it's got Lindsay Lohan, and she's like, "Huh, that looks like someone I went to high school with. Weird." and then hands in the remote and just walks away, which is freaking delightful.
A shout out to Mean Girls, which I thought was fabulous.
Boom.
Yes, right there you go. Okay. Now, we're going to come back to Lindsay Lohan actually in just a second here, but I wanted to give your thoughts. Is this a buy it, stream it, or unsee it for you?
Oh, this is buy it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The first two characters are amazing, but when Craig, God, what's his last name? Robinson. He keeps doing the taking off his glasses and trying to not look deadpan into the camera and give the one-liners, and it just never works. And Joe Latrulio is so good at the stumble mumble in the sentence fade out.
Yeah.
They're great. Everyone in this movie's fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, we brought up her name, Lindsay Lohan, and we're going to bring it up again right now. Lindsay Lohan has given us so much. The Lindsay Lohan is on the comeback trail. This is a post I did on social media. She's following the footsteps of Queen of Hallmark, Lacey Chabert style in Netflixy rom-coms. That is my post. So if you haven't noticed, Lindsay Lohan is back, and she's looking great. And she has a few films out for Netflix, and I'm gonna put them up here on the screen here. And I saw the first one, and I got to go back and watch these other two. But the first one that came out in 2022 was called Falling for Christmas. A very sweet Christmas film. I really enjoyed it. Came out in November of 2022. And I watched this out of plain curiosity because I'm like, wait, Lindsay Lohan, what's going on? And I just recently found out she's a mom now, and she's cleaned up her act. And there was a time where I was really kind of wondering what was going on with her, if she was ever going to kind of make it back. But we'll get into that in a second. Earlier in this, was it 2024? She released Irish Wish. And then just out now is Our Little Secret. I'm getting a Christmas themed show called Our Little Secret. Came out this year, November 27th, just a few days ago. Now, I was actually worried about my girl Lindsay Lohan because she was going down a deep, dark rabbit hole. I've always been a big fan of hers. And then she started doing drugs and drinking and blah, blah, blah. And she wasn't looking, I know she had some work too, and it wasn't looking good. And then I don't know, she decided to change her life. She's clean now. She's a mom now. And now she's becoming the kind of Hallmarky version of Netflix now. She's had a Netflix deal. And I've seen the first film, totally enjoyed her in this. How are you feeling about the Lindsay Lohan renaissance?
I don't really watch all the TMZs and the gossip shows and stuff like that these days. I mean, I used to when I lived in LA. It was kind of hard to get around it. So I when people disappear, I just assume that they have started doing plays, or maybe they're producing, or maybe they've moved on to directing or whatever. And so I hadn't paid attention to any of the tabloidy type stuff because you never know if that stuff's real. Right. I'm just glad she's back. I think she's funny. I think she's got a great sense. Her comic timing is always fun. She has a very specific way with her timing. And it's not something there's just something about it that it's perfect for her. And I've seen the first two. I haven't seen Our Little Secret. That's on my list. I put it on my list the other night. I was like, oh, great.
Well, I'm happy for her. I'm glad she's back in these things. And these formulaic rom-coms, seasonal or not, they really fit her and her style. I don't know if she would get into more drama stuff again, but the rom-com thing, stay in this lane. I'm loving it. I'd love to see her do more, and I hope that she does do more, and I'm very happy for her. And she's been doing the talk show circuit as well. Okay. Talking about, I think she has a daughter, I think. Anyway, but I'm very excited for her. I love seeing Lindsay Lohan back on the screen. So there you go.
It's interesting. Like you say that the rom-com thing is perfect for her. It's also for her and her lane or whatever. For me, that's perfect for my consumption because that's what I want to watch. I want to watch happy, fun, light, I understand. I know what's going to happen. Like, you know exactly what's going to happen, but watching it unfold is the fun part because she has different reactions than, say if Lacey Chabert or Jennifer Love Hewitt was in the movie, whatever, that kind of thing. Danica McKellar. There's a number of people who, have done the Hallmark movies, the Hallmark queens, and that kind of thing. So I think that she has found a good spot, and I think that if she continues to crank them out, I'll continue to watch them.
Well, for those of you that know me, you know this. If you don't know it, I am and I will never apologize for it. I am a huge Hallmark movie guy. I love diving because I love it. You get an hour and a half. It's always formulaic. You know what's going to happen, but you want to see how point A gets to point B. And I will watch any of these. And the ones that get me the most, of course, is the person that falls in love with a queen or a king or a prince or a princess. I'll take those. Or like you got the celebrity or rock star that comes back to hometown, that type of thing. I love that type of stuff. Just give it to me. I will always do it. And I assume you're kind of into that, especially during the holidays. You get into these.
Yeah, I think the other day I went through and I looked at it, and I want to say, just when I look up holiday films, I think I've got like I want to say like 260 or so Hallmark movies over there that
I don't have that many, but I've got a bunch.
It's like 4 shelves.
Yeah, I've got a bunch on physical media that I like to come back to because I don't want to have to try to track them down during the reruns of the holidays. I'm just going to go ahead and buy it. But there's a few Danica McKellars there. There's a few of Lacey Chabert there as well. So, so there was a movie that came out in 2020 that was holiday themed because I don't watch a lot of Thanksgiving movies as like I normally do. Of course, the turkey drop for WKRP is definitely one of those I like to return to. Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, that is a Thanksgiving type film as well. But I found this one cheap on Blu-ray and I missed it. And this is called Friendsgiving.
Nice.
Have you ever seen this?
Yeah, I've got it over there. It's funny. Malin Ackerman is hilarious. Kat Denning, hilarious. Like it's got an all-star cast, and you don't think of them as being people that you put together in a film, but they all have. They all bounce off each other so well because they all are so different. It's awesome. It's fun.
Okay, I have a different opinion on this film.
You didn't like it?
I was disappointed. Let me give the stars first. It's Malin Ackerman. Kat Dennings is kind of the major lead in this, next to Malin. Jack Donnelly, Aisha Taylor, James Seymour, Dion Cole, Ryan Hansen, Chelsea Peretti, also from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Christine Taylor as well. I was disappointed in this film. I'll be honest with you. And the main reason, which really surprised me, I'm a big Kat Dennings fan. Yep. Boy, was she a bummer character, a Debbie Downer, someone who complained all the time, and that just ruined it for me. And so for me personally, I will not be returning to this film. I have it digitally because I had bought the Blu-ray on it. But this movie, it was a downer for me because of Kat Dennings' performance in this. Just not a fan of it. Sorry.
Okay, but to be fair, I mean, that's the way it was written. I mean, her character was supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong.
I don't care.
It was annoying, but I think she played it masterfully because it did invoke those feelings out of you.
One of my least favorite characters of hers. It was a bummer. Chelsea Peretti was a little weird for me too. I didn't really care for her. I loved
Ryan Hansen so much. He was just so ridiculous. It was just delightful.
Okay. Now, I just got done with season 2 of a show that I'm really digging. My dad loves it too, and that is Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King. Just wrapped up season 2. Really, really enjoyed it. If you don't know what Tulsa King is, Stallone plays a New York mobster that gets out of jail, and he's ordered by the New York mob to go start something up in Tulsa and start doing things. But what he decides to do is make it his own and not be controlled by the New York mob. And of course, that kind of pisses them off. And he gets his own crew together, including Martin Starr, who's very funny. Max Casella is in it. Also, people like Annabella Sciorra is in it as well. And Dana Delaney is in a lot of season 2. And I really, really enjoyed this. He starts setting up roots and creating his own little power and working with people. And this season, Garrett Hedlund is in it as well. He plays one of the people that's part of his crew, and he's awesome in this. But in this second season, Neil McDonough is in it. They bump heads in it, and also Frank Grillo is in it as well. And I really, really enjoy this series. It's done really well, and they've totally set it up for a season 3, which I assume will be coming back. It's on Paramount Plus. I do highly recommend it. It's nice to see Stallone kind of cook in a different type of character as a mob boss type guy. And he's got style, he's got charisma, and he's really taken on this character in this role as Dwight the General Manfredi. So I highly recommend it. Have you seen this at all?
I have not, but the pictures you've got, he's looking good.
He dresses really, really well.
Yeah, he's got the nice suits and the throne he's got going on there. That chair is it's pretty fancy. Right on.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There's 2 seasons, and this, what did you say, it was Paramount Plus?
Paramount Plus, and they just there's is it 9 or 10 episodes a season? I think it is.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it? Do they do 10 per season? Or
I think it's 10. I think it's 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool. it's definitely worth a watch. The first season might have been 9, but the second season I think it was 10. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun, and it looks like it is returning. Now, I remember how I alluded to earlier. I didn't get a chance to watch the holiday episode, Thanksgiving turkey drop from WKRP. Well, there's a reason.
Ooh.
So I had, obviously, we at work we all have Thursday off for Thanksgiving, but I also had Wednesday off. So I took advantage of that day off. Like, I'm going to relax. I figured this is a good time to get in my Lord of the Rings extended version marathon.
Dang, that's 14 hours, yo.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
Nice. Right
so
on.
I try to get this in at least once a year. And last year I did too. But I normally, like in the past, I would try to do it all in one day. And I remember the last time I did that several years ago, my buddy Kat, who was still living in town at the time, he came over early, I think around 7 or 8 in the morning, and we just decided to marathon it all day. I don't do that anymore. I space it out over a couple of days, but I'll never get tired of it. And I'm a huge Lord of the Rings movie fan. I don't read the books. But the movies I have a close tie to as well, because I used to work for Decipher, who made the Lord of the Rings card game as well as Star Trek and Star Wars. But we also, at the time when this came out, we had the rights for the fan club for as long as the trilogy was out. And we also had released the monthly magazine as well. And that gave us a chance to meet some of the stars and producers and stuff like that at some of the conventions, which was really cool. But when you got in early on the fan club, if you watch the extended Lord of the Rings credits, after the main credits, they have the fan club credits. And you will see my name there listed alphabetically by my last name. Nice. Very proud of that on the extended versions of these. I have never watched, since the theatrical version, I've never watched the theatrical versions of these films. I almost did it this time, like, nah, I'm going to miss a bunch of cool scenes and stuff. So, and I'll be honest, there might have been a few Hobbit walking scenes I might have fast forward through.
I mean,
but I was very happy to return to the Shire and enjoy that. Are you a fan of Lord of the Rings at all?
I do love Lord of the Rings. I read it when I was a kid, The Hobbit, when I was like 10 or 11. Yep, that's the one I've got.
Digital copies as well.
I've got, here's the thing. So I have like, you know how the other day you had like 13 copies of John Wick or something?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
He's not joking. Yes.
Lord of the Rings. I have the old school, like I've got got every version that came out. I just sort of kept doing it, right?
Well, I kept the original book versions because those are just so damn cool. And I have like I think I have 2 extra copies of those just because they're hard to find, especially with the holder that holds them all. Yeah. I almost purchased the 4K because it was on sale on Amazon for like $55-$60. Kyle told me about it because it also has the theatrical versions.
Yep.
I balked at that though, because I got the digital. I've got these. And then when I was in France, I actually bought the French versions because the movies are so when they were out at that point, they were just with DVD only. And so when they were out, there's so much content on the DVDs. There wasn't enough. I still haven't seen all the special features on those damn things.
I've watched every special feature. It's like
I have
hundreds of hours.
I
But
know.
on the special feature, on the original 3 films, even the theatrical versions, they did not have enough room. They had enough room to put the English, the audio, and then the commentary audio, and that's it. I think there's 2 commentaries, one by Peter and Philippa, and then one by the actor.
The thing is, when I sit down, I just want to watch the movies, and I really have to commit time to watching special features. Because one of these days, I'm going to make a trip to New Zealand with my wife, and we'll tour Hobbiton and a couple other things, and just one of the most beautifully shot movie trilogies all time. But I did want to mention, I did see the theatrical version. I did see the extended versions on the big screen. They were playing in Atlanta.
Yep.
Back in, I want to say maybe about 10 years ago ish. And I did go to the theatrical, excuse me,
it was the marathon,
extended versions in the theater, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
I was in that theater all day.
Yep. Atlantic Station. It was I did Colonial 18 for that one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Atlantic Station, I think was the one I went to. Yeah.
But they didn't have, the reason I was saying is that I bought the French versions because they didn't have, there are no other audios. Most DVDs you can get with all the different audios, so you can hear,
Yep.
And so I got
all right.
Ones.
Well, that has been Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It. And let's get into the main part of the show here, guys. We're talking some 6th Day here. Let's get into some movie time. This is Save From Fandom Oblivion, the 6th Day, 2000. Do you remember me? And what's so funny is I was going through my videos, and I had the DVD, and somehow I ended up with 2 copies of the DVD.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the Blu-ray.
As one does, right? Sure.
I have to call these. I have to donate some back to the back to the thrift store here. But yes, we of course are talking the 6th Day here, and and I did want to remind people again, we want to do this because we feel that some movies have been forgotten, and they're in that fandom oblivion, as we call it, and we feel like they should be brought back to the forefront of fandom again. And this was my pick, and I'm just going to go on the record here saying this is one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger films, and it kind of makes me sad that people don't talk about it because this is a damn good movie. And I don't understand why people aren't talking about it more. So this definitely fits the fandom oblivion, thing. And I just, before we get into the details of this film, when I brought this up, Lacey, what was your first reactions to the fact that we were going to be discussing this on Fandom Oblivion?
I think my first thought was, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in forever. I think I own it. I'm not sure I have it, which I do. I have the DVD. And I know I've got the Blu-ray around here somewhere, but I just couldn't find it. So,
but do you think it fits the parameters of Oblivion?
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, I think that all Arnold Schwarzenegger movies are pretty like common and spoken about. Yep. But I think that as far as his catalog, I think this is probably one of the lower ranked ones for most people. Yeah. And so, I think that this is one we should talk about and figure all the fun things that we like about it and talk about whether or not it should be saved.
Well, this is the 6th Day. I got, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give a little plot synopsis here. In the near future, cloning technology is highly developed, and the corporation Replacement Technologies, owned by the wealthy Michael Drucker, is responsible for cloning pets in repet shops. However, there is a law called 6th Day that prohibits human cloning and many groups and movements that are against any type of cloning. When Drucker needs to travel to a remote location, he hires a professional helicopter pilot, Adam Gibson, and his friend Hank Morgan, requesting an eye test from them first. However, Frank flies since it's Adam's birthday. So they do a little switcheroo. Hank does a flying so Adam can go celebrate his birthday. The family dog has just died, and he is thinking about the possibility of cloning the animal for his daughter. Adam decides to buy a doll called Cindy instead, and this is like a really creepy Cindy doll.
Super creepy.
Yeah. Instead, but when he arrives home, he finds that Olive and him have been cloned. Further, he is hunted down by 4 professional killers, and he needs to flee. What happens to Adam, and why was he cloned? Now, this is some information I got from Wikipedia. The Sixth Day is a 2000 American science fiction film directed by Roger Spottiswoode and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tony Goldwyn, Michael Rapaport, Michael Rooker, Sarah Wynter, and Robert Duvall. In this film, a family man of the future is legally cloned by accident and is part of a vast conspiracy involving a shady billionaire businessman, and is thrust into a struggle to clear his name and protect his family from the conspirators who seek to keep the cloning a secret. The title refers to the Genesis creation narrative shared among the Abrahamic religions, where God created humanity on the sixth day of the universe's existence. Schwarzenegger received a salary of $25 million for this role in the film. The film has received mixed reviews and was a box office failure, earning $96 million worldwide on a budget of $82 million. We're going to come back around to that. Joe Dante was initially attached to direct the film before Arnold Schwarzenegger signed on to star. This was filmed December 6, 1999 through May 3rd of 2000. The Sixth Day was filmed in and around Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and Toronto, Canada as well. Okay, let's get into the discussion here of why is this a Save from Fandom Oblivion? In your opinion, Lacey, why is this a Save from Fandom Oblivion?
I think the cast alone is worth watching this film. I mean, you've got Michael Rapaport, Robert Duvall, you've got double Arnold, Stella Ward plays the wife, Sarah Wynter. This is probably, this is like top 2 or 3 performances from her, in my opinion.
Great. Yeah.
I first saw her in 24. I think season 2. She was everyone thought that her husband was the bad guy, and it turns out that she was the one who had been radicalized. And
just so you know, the wife is actually played by Wendy Crewson. She is Adam's wife. Looks a lot like Stella.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So not Stella Ward. Sorry. I love Sarah Wynter. I think she's fantastic. I can't remember the other guy's name. That was the guy who got his neck broken.
That is Rodney Rowland. I'm glad you brought him up, because I liked him because he was in the Fox canceled series, which I love, called Space Above and Beyond.
Right.
He was in that series. Terry Crews was in this one as well.
Love Terry Crews.
Yeah.
So it's I just think that it is, with the number of people, and Tony Goldwyn, I don't think he's played this creepy a guy since playing the bad guy in Ghost.
Good call. Yeah. And what's cool about it too is he doesn't look like a bad guy in this, but his actions definitely are very bad guyish. Yeah. So those are you highlighting the cast alone for the reason why this is a good candidate for Save from Oblivion is great. One of the reasons for me is that this is a really, really good science fiction movie based on cloning. And I don't think cloning's gotten a lot more attention after this film. Yeah. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And I'm glad you brought up the cast a little bit, because, by the way, the character that Rodney plays, P. Wiley, he gets killed 3 times actually, but twice, but then comes back. Because for those of you that don't know, the assassins in this, if you die, they're brought back to life, and you find out like which generation you are. But it's so funny because he gets run over by Arnold Schwarzenegger's car, and Arnold Schwarzenegger comes up again, and he breaks his neck, and there's a scene where Michael Rooker and the other police around him see him like lying dead, and they pick him up, and his neck is all limp. He's like, he doesn't look too good. He's like, oh, he's fine. I feel his pulse, and he's lying,
But then he pushes his tongue. He's like, and he's like pushes his tongue back in his mouth.
Yes, he's pushing his tongue, and his neck is totally dusty. It's great. It's a great scene. So funny. That's one of my favorite scenes. We'll get into scenes a little bit later. But yeah, the crew's great. But I think the concept of this film is great too. But what also makes this film really cool too is it's filmed on the backdrop of Vancouver, and Vancouver is the main is kind of a character on its own. And in the 90s, Vancouver was getting a lot of filming done. Of course, X-Files, which was still going on at this time, was filmed there as well. And I've been to Vancouver twice now. both Highlander related, actually 3 times now, 1 Decipher related. And so I know the city very well. It was very nice to see that as kind of a character in this film. And I love the fact that it's in the future. And you see certain tech in this movie that's not too dated for the future, which I like. Whether some of the screens, the holographic characters. I also love the weapons in this film, or the blaster pistols that kind of have laser / fire action to them. They're very menacing when they're used, and when you see people get hit with them, it's like, oh damn, there's a few other things too as well, but I want to bring out the fact that you have a cloned version of Arnold Schwarzenegger's character as Adam Gibson, and they work together in this film. And I just want to say, is this like the Twins movie that we should have got?
Yeah, no.
I joke.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's hilarious, but it really is interesting to see him like playing off of himself.
Yes,
Schwarzenegger is known for his one-liners. That's just kind of how he's known, right? If you talk about "I'll be back," or in this one he says "I might be back," which is kind of hilarious. Right. But he's known for his one-liners. You're whatever. So many of them, right? And so this one, he actually has a conversation with himself that's actually really funny. Like I mean, and he's got some poignant stuff as well, but he's able to do the comic relief on both sides of the conversation, which is kind of nice. Yeah.
And what I like about his character in this is he's not like this badass guy. He's a family guy.
Yep.
He can hold his own, which he does. And I like that he and his clone work together in a clever way to fool the villains in this. But seeing him before he starts working with this clone, and he plays this helicopter pilot with a cool helicopter futuristic thing, and I'll talk about it in a second, where they kind of do tours, and they'll take people that like to ski up to the mountains and drop them off. And he is hired for exclusive like Tony Goldwyn's character hires him to do a job for him, and then things kind of go south. And then you learn more about the cloning and the nefarious stuff behind that. There's some cool, creepy scenes, especially when Tony Goldwyn's character gets cloned. And here's a good picture of what he
doesn't.
But he doesn't come out right, and you learn more about the cloning aspect as well and stuff. So there's some really cool scenes in here. Great characters in here as well. And here's the cool like futuristic helicopter vehicles. I thought these were great. I think it was my buddy I think it was Adam O'Brien of the Lethal Mullet. I think he made a comment. This kind of reminds us of of one of the cars in the Mask TV series that was kind of like a cross between G.I. Joe and the Transformers, because they had these really cool cars that not completely transformed into something different, but did something kind of cool. So I thought that was kind of a nice shout out there. But before we go any further, Lacey, we got some trivia here. And we're going to bring it in here. The intro of this film gives us a history of the breakthroughs in cloning tech. There's an entry on the cloning of a sheep, which is credited to 2 pioneering scientists, Dr. Lerod Yard and Philip Slangigan, both of the Rosarito Institute. In real life, the 2 pioneering scientists were Keith Campbell and Ian Wilmot of the Roslin Institute in Scotland. The year was 1996, not 97, and the name of the sheep was Dolly. Dolly lived until 2003 and had been euthanized due to lung disease and severe arthritis, which were said to be unrelated to the cloning process. We're going to come back to that. Terry Crews, this was his first film debut, and the name was changed from the 6th day, where 6 was spelled out, to the 6th day, where the number 6 was done, to avoid confusion with the 6th Sense, which came out the year earlier. The title, of course, refers to the Bible's book of Genesis, wherein the first man, Adam, was created on the 6th day of creation. Now, Lacey, I don't know if you caught this. I did not at first. The exterior of the house at the start of the film is the same house seen at the end of Time Cop. Did you catch that?
I did not.
Yeah.
Probably because the last time I saw Time Cop was when we talked about Time Cop, and that was months ago.
Yeah.
But that's cool. But it also goes to show that Vancouver has a very specific set of locations that they like to use, and especially when you're doing houses,
Yeah.
people who are willing to allow crew into their home or even on their lawn are few and far between because it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, and the city of Vancouver has a lot of different settings and a lot of different style of houses that if you want to shoot something futuristic, they have that there. And one of my favorite TV shows, Highlander, was filmed there in the 90s. So yeah. According to Arnold Schwarzenegger in the DVD featurette, The Future is Coming, this movie was set in 2015. So it obviously came out in 2000, so they were pushing like 15 years in the future, and that's the same year that Back to the Future 2 from 1989 takes place, by the way. So yeah, and the main plot of the film involves illegal human cloning as a result of having been prohibited by the government. Then U.S. President Bill Clinton, whose last year in the office was the same year this movie was released in 2000, actually banned human cloning and prohibited federal funds to be used for such during his presidency. In 2015, the year this movie takes place, 70 countries had legally banned human cloning. There's a lot more countries than 70, by the way. So there's still a chance something's going on. So we'll see. And Jack Nicholson was considered for the role of Michael Drucker, but deemed too expensive at the time. And I found this kind of funny on a football aspect to it. There's a scene in the beginning of the film where you see a football player that gets killed, but people don't know it, and so they have to clone him. The Professional Football League, for which Johnny Phoenix, the character that I just spoke of, played by Steve Basic, plays the XFL, which was created in 2000 by former WWE CEO Vince McMahon. It only lasted one season, but was later revived in 2020, only lasting one season due to the COVID pandemic. But the XFL is slated for a possible return in the near future. I don't know if you caught that, Lacey.
Being as the interest that I have in football mirrors the same interest I have in getting a colonoscopy on a regular basis. Football's not my jam.
That's all right. That's all right. We're not going to hold it against you.
I wouldn't notice that necessarily.
So the release date was November 17th, 2000, ran for about 124 minutes. The budget was $82 million, and the box office gross was $96 million. The film opened up at number 4, grossed $13 million its opening weekend, eventually grossed $34 million in North America and $96 million worldwide, while Variety reports $116 million. Critical response, not good on this, by the way. Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 40% based on 117 critics, rating it a 5.9 out of 10. The site consensus reads, "This offering from Arnold Schwarzenegger contains an intriguing, disturbing premise, but the film's execution is too routine and formulaic to make good use of it." I disagree. Cinema Score gave it a C from an A to F. Roger Ebert, love getting his take. The Chicago Sun-Times gave The Sixth Day 3 out of 4 stars. Apparently he liked it, remarking that it's not in the same league as Total Recall and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but that it nevertheless qualifies as a serious science fiction film. He also found problems with the cloning as depicted in the film, saying that his problem with both the process is, while the resulting clone might know everything I know, I myself would be over here in an old container. Keith Turn of Los Angeles Times disliked the generic appearance of the film and Schwarzenegger's typecasting as an action hero. He gave the film 2 out of 5 stars. And Todd McCarthy of Variety called it a most standard issue latter-day Arnold Schwarzenegger actioneer spiked with a creepily plausible cloning angle. What was your thoughts on these? I guess you could say maybe split, but mostly negative reviews.
Well, I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think that when you go see an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, that's what I was going to say, Kyle.
Kyle says better cloning this or The Island. We're going to come back to it in a second.
Okay, so my thing is that when you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, you go into it with a certain expectation, right? You want some one-liners, you want some good action, you want some good, fight sequences. You want a good bad guy and a better good guy. That's what you want from an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. And this gave you all of those things. The one complaint that I would have on this film is that the opening, I mean, it's literally like 20, not even, it's like 7 minutes in where this situation happens where Colin Cunningham's character, who is the anti-cloning crazy guy who comes in and shoots him, like his character, you see like a split second of him in like the first minute or so. There needed to be some sort of build up because the bad guy, there's supposed to be two bad guys in this movie, right? You've got the bad guy who's the guy who actually murdered someone.
Right.
Okay. And then you've got the bad guy who's like the corporate giant, right? Who is the bad guy. And there's that way you have like kind of the social commentary and the actual bad guy, right? So the fact that Colin Cunningham's character wasn't, or even just somebody saying, you know, you've got an X number of death threats again, or here's the mail for the detective, whatever, anything, just a couple of lines to lead in to know that that guy is the one who is potentially in danger. Because for the first couple of minutes when I was watching it, I thought that they were actually after Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and it didn't make sense because when they killed Michael instead, because they knew the name, not the face.
Okay, well, hold on. I want to stay on the reviews here real quick. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, Lacey, is did you see this when it first came out in the theater?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your thoughts and impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger? And before you answer that, the reason why I bring this up, and I think it's a good point, is Arnold Schwarzenegger was kind of at a weird turn in his career. Now, of course, we have Terminator 2 in 91. Then he does Last Action Hero in 93, which, you know, kind of but then he hits a home run with True Lies. Then he does Junior. Then he does Eraser in 96, which I'm a fan of, but
I love Eraser.
Like, Then, of course, I would say he hits a home run with Jingle All the Way, which is still a fun Christmas movie to watch. But then he does Batman and Robin as Mr. Freeze in 97. Then he does End of Days in 99, which I'm not a fan of. And then in 2000, he does The Sixth Day, followed by Collateral Damage, which is kind of, you know,
a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah, and then he does Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines in 2003. And I want to stop there because he had just done End of Days, which kind of, and he did Batman. So I want to kind of get your thoughts of when you were watching this live. For you, was he back, or was he kind of like, it was okay?
Okay, so I enjoyed End of Days. I felt it had kind of like a Constantine feel to it, like a Hellboy Constantine kind of mix almost. Maybe a little bit of Devil's Advocate in there.
I got you.
So I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with his turn as Mr. Freeze because it was billed as a comic book film, and they either work or they don't, you know. So I don't think that that's a matter.
Well, you're in the minority because a lot of people think that one sucked, and it was.
Oh no, it was an awful movie. But I'm saying it's his fault, and his run in that film was. I mean, he was not the main character by any means.
I got you. But you understand that his career in general was not doing well right now. So when this movie came out, did you feel like he was back?
No, because I didn't think he'd ever gone away. That's what I was leading up to. I felt like he was doing just as well as the rest of the stuff that he had been doing, minus the two films that people didn't like because of reasons that didn't have anything to do with him. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you've liked all of these films that came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean I didn't like Batman and Robin but that's not a Schwarzenegger problem.
Okay. But you see my point though, is that those films were highly, you know, not looked at as good films overall, and that he was kind of on a downslope, you know. And End of Days was dark. Not a lot of people gravitated towards it. Kyle here says End of Days is underrated. I think that's that could actually be a Save From Oblivion, because I think a lot of people are kind of come back to that film. Even my wife likes that film. Yeah. But I wasn't a fan of it. Maybe I should do a rewatch though. Maybe my point will change. But I feel that when this movie came out, I felt he was back.
I also think that when I look at someone as being back or not, I'm looking at films that they are the main. This is their vehicle, right?
Well, I tell you, I mean, Batman. He was in Batman and Robin or whatever it was. He was the number one labeled character. He was on the top of the bill. So this was his film.
Yeah,
even
but
though
it was a
and he was like
Batman.
villains tend to outshine Batman in a lot of those films as well. So I don't want to go over Batman and Robin, but a lot of people, with the exception of you, felt that was not a good movie and this was not a good Schwarzenegger turn. End of Days didn't help. A lot of people didn't like Eraser, so he was kind of for most people he was on a downward spiral, and a lot of people will probably say the same for The Sixth Day.
I liked Eraser. I liked this. I liked End of Days. I didn't have a problem with any of them. And I just didn't consider, I really didn't consider Batman and Robin, because for me, a Batman film is Batman.
I got you. Okay. I got you. Yeah. Okay. So he never left for you. That's fine. But for me personally, I felt he was back with The Sixth Day. I thought it was I just thought it was a great film, and I still think it is. But I want to ask the question: was this movie a failure? If you ask the box office receipts, yes. But I did some deep dive in here. I don't know if a lot of people look into the video sales of things. So this movie had a budget of $82 million. 25 of that went to Schwarzenegger, but only made $96 million. And I'm sure there was some cost with marketing that, even made it worse. But according to some information on the internet, The Sixth Day made approximately $100 million in video sales. Through the exact figure can vary depending on the source and the time frame considered and stuff. If that is anywhere accurate, even if it was $50 million, it feels like financially it could have been a success, but I don't think this movie resonated with people thus wanting to see more of this character.
Yeah, I think that the reason they just don't use the video sales unless it's a direct to video is because the sales are not going to the people who are counting the tickets.
Right.
The distribution versus the actual video distribution are two totally separate contracts. So when you're talking about, especially back then, they didn't do, streaming and co-releases and all that kind of stuff that sort of have been happening recently. Yeah. But I think this really had a boost in home video. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure that where it lost money that they were expecting to see on the big screen, they probably recuperate some of that. But if 100 million video sales, if that's exaggerated, that's still impressive. Even half of it, that's impressive. I mean, this is still, you still had VHS, DVD was still somewhat new. So that's a lot of extra revenue there when it comes to how much money it made. But I did want to get into a discussion here. I found a great article from retrozap.com. And I always try to find, whenever we do these Oblivions or time travel spotlights, I try to find a more recent article. And I did find one a year old. This one came out December 2nd, 2023 by Jovial J, of course, on RetroZap. And it goes on to say, Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle, The Sixth Day, pulls the wool back from a series of cloning that takes place in the near future. But the film is really only a clone of other sci-fi and action films with a little meat on its cloned bones. First impressions, Arnold Schwarzenegger is back, and this time he's an escaped clone from an experimental lab. The trailer shows that he's a copy of an actual person, but one that doesn't want to lie down for the scientists to destroy. He knows who he is and if he's going to take control of his life. The science fiction action adventure with lots of shooting, explosions, and chases. It's The Sixth Day. Societal commentary, he says. In the final years of the 20th century, cloning went from science fiction to science fact. At least in part, Scottish scientists cloned a sheep dolly in July of 96, which became the first full mammal, but not the first animal grown from a cell. Medical ethicists quickly begin discussing the implications of the new technology, and by May of the following year, the United States created a law banning federal funding for human cloning. The film depicts some of the public concerns about cloning, including having protesters gathering outside of the Weir Institute picketing the cloning of pets. Remember that the human cloning of the film was unknown to the greater public, as it too was banned by the Sixth Day laws. One of the biggest arguments against cloning, both in the film and in real life, is the religious one. The title of the film relates to a biblical verse from Genesis, shown in the opening credits, in which God created man in his own image on the sixth day. Trip is a member of an extremist group that believes that cloning of all kinds are abominations of God. Lacey, I want to kind of ask you on that aspect of it, that obviously this has scientific repercussions, but also religious repercussions there. I want to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm an atheist, so but I was brought up in the church. I read all the books. I've read all the books. Okay, I think that there was like no conversation about that in the movie. It was 99.9% of the conversation in that film was science based. They talked about there was a discussion with Duvall, where he says, talks about like moral implications, but he doesn't come at it from a biblical standpoint.
Right.
Maybe like a couple of shots where they see like protesters with signs or whatever. There might have been a sign that says something about Jesus or something about the coming of whoever, but I didn't see one. There could have been one in there, but I just don't think that it was even talked about. I don't think it's necessary. I think we're talking about a lot of the same kind of things today when we talk about women's rights. Like the percentage of Christians that are in the country or on the planet, it's there are plenty of people who are not those people who don't care what your Bible says. Like
right.
What your what your imaginary friend is like. I have my own imaginary friend, or whatever. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is brought up, and I know that it was a point of contention when Dolly was cloned, and why countries took act to make sure that this was banned. So the article goes on saying the science in the fiction. In real life, cloning is probably pretty boring. It looks no different from the normal growth and development of any other organism. Except that it was conceived in a laboratory. A human clone would grow and develop like any other baby. Unfortunately for the film, that's not exciting enough. Most films and television shows that dealt with duplicates of characters often create some technological marvel that makes a new character exactly the same as the original. Transporter accidents, machines that duplicate the current body and mind as is, or some other wonder allow the stories to happen without having to deal with a long wait. To show how quickly the process happens, at one point, Talia is asked how many times she's been cloned, to which she responds she's lost track, but we find out, I think it was 4 or 5 times. She then reveals the 4 dots under her eyelid that indicates that she's been cloned 4 times, one of them being earlier that day. She either has false bravado or is very dumb. The 6th day also creates a process for the clones to be turned around in about 2 hours, much like ordering groceries online. Drucker explains that biological blanks are created that are humanoid but lack the characteristics of the host. When the order to create a new clone comes in, the blank is imbued with the appropriate hormones and genetic material, which allows it to grow to look just like the host. I want to kind of get your thoughts on that, because they also reference in the film that you can clone pets because it's not as weird or dangerous. And you can also manipulate those pets with either softer teeth. You can also make them, create a certain color and stuff like that. But I kind of want to get your thoughts on this cloning process that we learned and how it was showcased in this movie. Because to me, I thought it was very cool and creepy at the same time.
Okay, definitely cool. Not saying it's not cool. I think that modern technology has come to a point where modern medicine keeps us alive. I mean, come on, we're 50 years past the life expectancy of the colonists for this country, right? So in 202 however many years, we've gone from life expectancy of 32 to life expectancy of I think it's 79 now.
79 or 80. Yeah,
I feel like, and with pets as well. I mean, pets used to be mostly outside and not brought inside just because they didn't want their kids to get attached to them because they were gonna die. I don't know that I would want to clone one of my pets. I just don't think it would feel like it's not really them. No matter how hard you say that
right.
all the commands will be the same and they'll know everything. I don't know. And I know that there's a conversation about the soul or not having a soul or whatever, that kind of
right.
stuff. Nah.
Well, one of the things they brought up, which I can understand scientists would want to do, is if you have a bad liver, you can clone a liver, and then
Absolutely. That
you
to
then
me-
you have a transplant, or parts to do that, and I get that, and I see, and then we see why it was banned, and then why the villain continues to do it, and
there's a
and
difference though when you go above the neck, right? Or even
Yeah.
like from here
Yeah.
back.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah,
If you want to clone somebody's eyes and give them a new eyes, that's fine. Hair, people do hair replacement, hair transplant, whatever. If you want to give somebody, new teeth or I don't know. But when
yeah.
it comes to brainstem and operations, I think
That's a sticky situation.
the
Yeah.
line. You
So
don't, and that's the same issue I have with AI.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think-
oh yeah.
like
Yeah,
it's-
we're getting that right now. Yeah.
Right?
So,
Yeah.
well, this article ends out saying, as mentioned earlier, the 21st century has embraced the idea of clones and cloning in much greater way than the previous 50 years of entertainment. Television series like Kyle XY, I remember watching that,
Love that.
and Orphan Black, which I am currently watching right now, look at more detailed consequences of cloning, while films like Moon, Attack of the Clones, and Avatar use it as plot elements, but not necessarily the focus of the film. And I wanted to ask you on this because cloning has been something that, as this article is saying, is referenced. We're seeing a lot more of it now in movies and television and stuff. And usually it has an angle compared to what we've seen thus far. How do you feel where the idea of as cloning has gone since this movie came out in 2000?
Okay, I think cloning is cloning. I think that a lot of films have interesting ways to show it. I think that what they showed in this film was really cool. They had the tank and the bubbles and all that kind of stuff. It was fairly. It felt like a human farm, like it felt like umbilicals, and it felt like it was like an actual birthing kind of thing, right? It felt like they were being birthed. As opposed to, like, you look at The Island, 2008, you look at Duel with Karen Gillan in 2022, you look at Replicas 2019 or 2017 with Keanu Reeves, you've got Gemini Man, you've got, like you said, Kyle XY. All of those have interesting ways to do it, but I don't think any one of them is better or worse than the others. I think even if you look at things like The Matrix, they're not cloning necessarily, but I feel like that was the next step in The Matrix, is when because the agents were clones, right? So they were clones, but those were just built basically as batteries, into the being plugged into the system. So I think every film has their own way of doing it, and I liked the way the Sixth Day did it. I don't think that it was better or worse than another film has done it. I don't recognize it as being like the standout by any means.
I'm glad you said that, because the thing that stands out for me that I really liked about the Sixth Day is it shows different aspects of it. It shows the pet aspect of it. It shows obviously the human cloning part of it. The people that don't like it, and even Arnold Schwarzenegger's character Adam in the beginning of the film doesn't want to do the repet thing, and he has issues about it, and that comes up. And I liked how they kind of covered all the bases, and Robert Duvall, who is like the chief engineer about it, he has a dying wife, so he has a stake in this as well, until he learns about what's going on. And even to the factor, you see what happens when a clone doesn't quite mature and it's all kind of ugly, stuff like that. It doesn't happen in time. And obviously at the time when this movie came out in 2000, it took place in the near future. So it was kind of believable because of what we'd learned about Dolly the sheep. And so at the time when you're watching this, you're going, this is all kind of timely. And the other thing too, is when I look back on this movie to me, it's not dated at all. And even some of the technology with some of the hologram and the screen, stuff like that, it still feels like, current, yet also futuristic still. And so there's, when it comes to like the cloning part of it, I felt that they did a great job of kind of attacking it from all angles and stuff. So I thought that was interesting. So I just want to kind of have a little fun here too. What were some? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lacey. You want to respond?
I was going to say that the thing that I love about this is that, with the exception of cloning, every other piece of technology, they didn't go too far with it. They didn't make it. It it wasn't, the woman with the doing her nails with a pen or whatever. It's the refrigerator. Like at the time, the idea that your refrigerator
order milk, you were out of milk,
and you could tap a button and order milk was like, that's amazing. That should happen. And now my refrigerator could do that if I had ordered the model that does it.
The doll that he gets, or that creepy mechanical doll.
That is the Megan doll, and it's creepy.
It's the Megan doll, yes.
No, absolutely not. Those are coming. Those are right around the corner, and I'm gonna. I 100% no.
Yeah,
I'm noping out on that 100%.
Okay, so I wanted to get some of your favorite scenes and moments in this film.
Okay. Okay. Michael Rapaport and his hollow doll lady person.
Yes.
Thing.
Who apparently can physically unzip his pants.
Right, which is no, it was a thing. It was a like you could jack into it, or you could.
Yeah,
that was a bad choice of words. You could plug in the thing on his head, or you can. Yeah. So that whole thing was just the setup for it was great, right? But when you have Arnold Schwarzenegger come in and sit down in that chair, and she shows up, and he's like, "Whoa, that's my."
Yeah. So you like that scene? Gotcha.
Yeah, he's great. Michael Rapaport is one of my favorites. He steals every film and movie and scene that he's in. I did find the scene the penultimate scene between Arnold and Tony Goldwyn's character, where he's just so smug. Like Tony Goldwyn's character is so smug, and then you see.
Hold on, is that the scene where he says you should clean yourself so you can go F yourself?
That's where I was going with that. Yes, because that then pays off. Like 10 minutes later when
right
calls over, and he says, "When I said go F yourself, I wasn't being literal, or I didn't mean. I didn't really mean it, or whatever," which was great. I think the Megan doll scene, what was her name in the movie, Susie or something? Cindy. Something
like it.
Cindy.
Yeah.
I think the scene where she's in the car with the bad guys.
Right, and won't shut up.
she won't shut up or whatever.
Right.
Her head gets blown off. That's funny. I know it shouldn't be funny, but the look on Terry Crews' face when he's just holding this like almost life size.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7 year old doll that is
yeah.
It's fantastic.
Those are some good choices. I mentioned the death scene of one of the villain guys. He gets run over. But what's cool about it though is that he talks about how he still feels his chest is tight because he got ran over, and I like that you get that feeling of like, it kind of reminded me of when people talk about when they lose a limb, but they still feel it. It's like a phantom limb,
Yep.
And then him getting killed the second time with the busted neck was great. I love the flying helicopter scenes too. Those, especially because he used the remote that he put on his hand so he could fly one while he's physically flying another.
Yep.
Those are really good, and I love the end scene too when you see the cloning that's being done, the action scenes, and I love the scenes between Arnold Schwarzenegger playing against himself with the clone, and that brings me to a question. Yeah.
And I did love Michael Rooker's foot getting shot off, where he's like, "Is that my foot?"
Yeah.
He's like,
that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, the clone lives. And he's basically going to like go out on a boat and do his own thing for a while. And then it was kind of nice that the real Arnold Schwarzenegger character says, this is your family now too. Mm-hmm. Although he was a little mad that he slept with his wife, but I like the fact that he
flipped. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I liked how that he's like treating him as like a brother now, a literal twin brother. And to me, it feels like it would have been kind of cool. Well, that kind of leads into the next thing is if there was a sequel, would you have liked seeing from the sequel if you got one?
Oh, wow. I mean, if there's a sequel, I mean, it's going to have to be, him being on the run because they're going to try and, the whole thing with this was that if
clones have no rights. Yeah, clones have no rights. Yeah.
And then they would be put to sleep or put to death. And so I think that's a perfectly valid, like one line scenario that could go many different ways. And we've seen that, I mean, how many times have we seen Arnold on the run?
Yes.
So he's good at it. I mean, I'd see it now. I would watch that now. I do have one question for you.
What?
I do have one question for you. If people can choose to be cloned, okay, and they have these contracts or whatever, wouldn't it, okay, not for nothing, but like for instance, Robert Duvall's wife, okay, she's been cloned once. She realizes she's a clone because they put in the they corrupted the code, right? So would it make sense? You can actually, it's kind of like when you reboot your computer, you can go back to when you recently saved it, or you can go back to however many saves back. Would it not make sense for instance, like the football player, wouldn't it make sense for him to go back an extra 10 years so that he's like in the prime of his life continually? Maybe later on
they could, but he's in the prime of his life now, so I don't know if that's a great example, but I mean, you would age as a normal human and stuff and want to do that. But I mean, it brings up the question I was going to ask you, Lacey.
Yeah.
If you could clone yourself the way you are right now, because that's the way it would be done, would you do it?
No. Absolutely.
I kind of would.
No. Well, I mean, because
I kind of would. There's a part of me that kind of would. I want a twin brother. I do.
So it depends on what you're saying, though. Like, are you saying like if I was to die and then would I want to be cloned?
No. If someone says, look, if there's a law that says, Lacey, you're allowed to have one clone of yourself, consider it a twin sister, would you do it?
I think I would annoy the crap out of myself, man. Like I'm a very A personality. I like things the way I like them. I will say that I would obviously do all the same things.
But your clone would recognize that and respect that, though.
But at the same time, like we would argue over who had to do laundry. We would argue over who had to like clean, because I hate mopping, right?
So your answer is no. Mine is probably yes. Mine is probably yes, because we wouldn't have to argue about laundry because we both like doing laundry. The dishes maybe, but
no.
I
myself 20 years ago without the bad back, and the rolled ankle, and be like, hey, can you take care of all the things? I'm gonna like relax. Absolutely, that sounds awesome.
Okay, so Lacey, I think we have a sequel to this film, and I'm gonna explain.
Okay.
The sequel to The Sixth Day is The Island.
Right. Yeah.
Hear me out here.
Yeah.
First of all,
it's just the opening scene.
Well, hold on. Yeah. Hear me out here. So first of all, we covered The Island a little while ago as a Fandom Oblivion. And of course, if you know about The Island, it's where this secret business, well, not secret, but sort of, they clone clients, and they keep their clones in a closed society without letting them know they're cloned, because if you're rich and you want to do that, you have an extra liver in case yours goes bad. If something with you goes bad, you can harvest this clone that's living in this closed society. And the way they tell this closed society, once their number comes up, they say they're going to go and live on this island, basically.
Win the lottery.
Yes, they win the lottery. Well, two clones escape, but that's, of course, Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. They realize that's, there's this, sinister plot out there of what these clones are used for. Well, I bring up this as a possible what if, just without Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's film takes place in the year 2015. Well, if cloning in The Sixth Day, okay, people find out about it and it gets banned, well, the secret company decides to keep it going, because guess what? 2015 is when this takes place, The Sixth Day. Well, The Island takes place in 2019. 4 years later.
Yep. I mean,
so it would be a good double feature if you want to do a little cloning double feature. You watch, The Sixth Day, and then you watch The Island, and it deals what happens if they continue cloning in a nefarious way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, the opening scene of the football player
Yeah.
I feel like Michael Bay saw this movie and thought, because there's literally in the island,
Right?
literally this scene where the football player has a problem. I think it's actually a car accident. I don't think it's actually right.
No, he gets killed on the field. His neck breaks.
No, I'm saying in the island.
Oh, in the island.
The island, I think the football player's in like a car accident or something. But
something like that. Yeah.
I feel like Michael Bay saw that and was like, I can work with that, and just picked up that like first 5 minutes and was like, I feel like I can take this nugget and do a whole movie off of it.
Yeah. So I mean, and the fact that the island takes place literally 4 years later in the future of the Sixth Day, I found that kind of funny and quinky dinky.
Yeah.
Kyle says the issue would be your clone would be different once it has. Let me say that again, Kyle. The issue would be your clone would be different once it has different experiences. This is true.
Sure.
But, you could still have a twin brother or sister and, you share different experiences, so I don't know. Yeah, unless he's referring to having a clone from a different time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the one from Younger.
Okay. So I have the big question here. We always ask on this Fandom Oblivion. Yeah. Do we save this movie from Fandom Oblivion? Lacey, go.
Yes, I think so. I don't think it should have gone to Fandom Oblivion in the first place. I just, there's kind of a trilogy of sci-fi Schwarzenegger films that would be good to watch together. There's this trilogy of the action hero ones. There's kind of, this falls into one of the little.
Are you talking about futuristic films he's in? Like Total Recall. This one, Terminator, obviously.
And Terminator, yeah. So you've got the kind of the trilogy of that. Then you've got like the old school stuff where he's doing like the brawn and the muscle and the commando types, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you've got his comic stuff. So I think this one definitely falls into one of the categories. And I think that if you're going to do a marathon day, this one would definitely fit into any number of different marathon situations.
I completely agree. And this is sneakily becoming like one of my top 5 Arnold Schwarzenegger films. If I were to rank it, I think I would squeeze it in there. I absolutely love this film. I love the way it looks. I love the setting. I love the idea of cloning and how you get, as I mentioned earlier, you get to see people's thoughts on it, on whether it should exist or not from several different angles. I love the nefarious reasons behind it. Yeah. And I love the fact that you get 2 Arnold Schwarzeneggers working together. How is that not cool? I mean, come on,
And also, I would say that it feels like when this came out in 2000, right? 2000 or 99?
2000.
This was basically like Blade Runner meets Pet Sematary.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Right? With like
there's similarities. I see that.
Right?
Yeah, but
and then you come forward and you get not one but like 7 different films in the past 10 years that were legit knockoffs of the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. I love this movie. I love rewatching it. It is a full rewatchable for me. It's action packed. It's got human moments in it as well. It's a good Schwarzenegger role. He's definitely shown that he's a good actor. And when stuff starts going weird and he's wondering like, who's this other guy that looks like me? Those are some great scenes as well. With, as you mentioned from the very beginning, Lacey, a great cast that needs to be revisited. Sarah Wynter's great in this as well, and Michael Rooker's just good as the main henchman in this.
And do no wrong. I'm sorry.
What's that?
Rooker can do no wrong. I have yet to find a movie that he's in that I'm like, nope.
And there's some genuinely funny moments in this. There's some intentional funny moments too, but there's some like intentional funny moments in this. I just feel like this is one of his. There's 2 movies that he's done that I feel deserve better judgment and more people talk about it. The Sixth Day and Raw Deal. Raw Deal is a great action movie. It's a great gangster movie. And that is the film too, in my opinion, that he's acting really stepped up a bit too. Funny too, as well.
Right on. I can see that. See, I would put Raw Deal, Red Heat, and Commando together.
Good one. Yeah, good choices. So we're saving it from Fandom Oblivion, people. Go check it out. This is Culture Clash.
Fandom.
All right, let's go ahead and close things out here. This is Culture Clash Live. Kyle, by the way, thank you for checking in on us. We really appreciate you. We miss you. I know you're doing your fun. You're doing your fun family holiday stuff there. He'll be here next week, of course. And what as we've mentioned, we're going to be doing Culture Clash Live, and we're going to be showcasing Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We're really, really excited that Star Wars is coming back to television. And Lacey, I'm really excited to get your opinion on this. Please watch the first two. If it doesn't for you, if it doesn't, let us know. At least we'd love to get your opinion on it. We appreciate that. So, yeah. Cool. This, of course, is the Fandom Podcast Network. This is Culture Clash Live on, of course, YouTube. If you can, please give us a shout out. Follow us on YouTube. Give us a like and a share it out and subscribe. Please subscribe as well. And we're also new to Blue Sky. Fandom Podcast Network, of course, is online, but we also just joined Blue Sky at FanPod Network. We're also on X and Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. And, of course, you can find the audio podcast at fpnet.podbean.com. And we are also on all major podcast platforms, including, of course, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, all those as well. My name is Kevin. I am on all of the like X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, Letterboxd, and of course Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. Kyle, you can find him on X at AKyleW, Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom, AKyleW on Discord, KSport16 at Letterboxd, and on Blue Sky at AKyleW. Lacey, where can we find you?
I am in all the places, Discord and Blue Sky and Threads and all the places at Lacy Pants. I am Lacy Pants.
You're the Lacy Pants. Yeah, there you go. Yes. And yes, this is Culture Clash. We've just saved Fandom Oblivion. We've saved 6 Days of Fandom Oblivion. But you know what? We need your help. We need you guys to go watch it again. If you differ, let us know. Make comments on YouTube. Let us know on Facebook. We're going to let you know. Please return to the 6th day and let us know, in your opinion, if it should be saved from Fandom Oblivion. Lacey, thank you so much for holding us down with us. Kyle, we miss you. And until next week, guys, join us on Culture Clash Live as we will, of course, be showcasing Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We'll see you guys next week. See you guys. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a last minute comment here. Kyle says, will you have me or my clone next week? That's a good question. I have questions to find out for sure. And you will have to pull back your eyelid, Kyle. All right, guys, we hope that you had a wonderful holiday, Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week here live talking some Star Wars. See you guys next time. Thanks again, Lacey.
Woohoo!
All right, see you guys.